So the update for iCIMS 15.1 will take place on August 20th, which is next week, and the brand new iCIMS 15.1 platform will be fully available starting August 21st. So that means iCIMS will actually be unavailable for a short period of time from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. on August 20th. So at that time, iCIMS will be down. There's usually sometimes a few people who check iCIMS at midnight. So for those people, unfortunately, it will be down on that day. So what you're going to see with iCIMS 15.1 is just a bunch of interface updates. Everything you do today will still stand true in the new system, but we're going to see a lot of visual differences. Some of the buttons have been updated, and some things have been moved around. But just about everything you're doing today is still going to stand true in the system update. So the first thing I want to go over with the iCIMS update is with what a job looks like on our Work with Purpose Today site. So this is kind of a preview to what a job will look like moving forward. So it's still got that information at the top of the page, as well as the description and qualifications at the bottom. You'll notice the apply button, if you're ever on our website, the apply button is now at the top. So apply for this job is now at the top of the screen. And we also now have another option. You can email this job to our friends. So that means even candidates can be our referrals. So they can refer other people to our jobs as well by emailing this job to other people. So really easy to get to a job and really easy to share a job moving forward. A brand new feature that we're excited about is a LinkedIn integration. So we actually have access to log into LinkedIn on our Work with Purpose. And then you can actually share this job directly to your network. You can select your colleague, and then you can send an invite to apply to this job. So really easy, useful tool that we have there. In addition to that, we also have some social media sites that we can now share to. So we've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, as well as 300 other social media sites that you guys have access to share your jobs to. And the great thing about this is outside of the iCIMS system. That means anyone can now share their job using our Work with Purpose Today site. So if a CNA wants to share another CNA opening, they can just search for the job on our website and then directly share it on their newsfeed. So now it opens up social media sharing to everybody in a really easy and accessible way. So we're really excited about that. And the great thing about it is it's linked to the employee referral program. So if you share someone using Facebook and they get hired to that position, your name is going to show up as the person who referred them. So you will get a referral bonus for that. So one of the great things that's coming is a more robust and intuitive employee referral program. As things are shifting to more social aspects, iCIMS 15.1 will give us the tools in order to utilize where social media is going. So if I apply to a job, this is what we see when a candidate applies. This is what we call the profile. The first thing we have that's new is there's now a timeline at the top of the screen. So the candidate actually knows how much they have left in this process. Before, we've seen a lot of fall off. So some candidates weren't sure how much they had left. So a lot of people just quit. So this should improve the amount of people completing a profile. Someone asked, can they still refer through eMerge? And the answer is yes, you can still refer people using the eMerge site. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things we're working on, we found that eMerge was, it's difficult to log into eMerge, then click on the link to get to the iCIMS site. So one of the websites we're making is called shareourpurpose.com, and I don't think it's ready yet. But shareourpurpose.com will actually direct you straight to that employee referral site. So you can actually skip. So that is something we are working on, and we will release that soon. So that takes an extra step out of the process. They can just go to shareourpurpose.com. So definitely look out for that. Good question. So with this application, this profile, one thing that's also coming with iCIMS 15.1 is the profile is going to be shorter. One thing we're including now is what we call conditional logic. So these forms are actually going to have logic built into them. So there's a question, have you committed a criminal offense? If they hit no on that, then they'll never see the other questions that are related to that. If they hit yes, then some other boxes will pop up that they have to fill in. So essentially, this is going to shorten the profile process for most people. So we've got that timeline, shorter profile, which means more people are going to complete their online profiles and apply to our jobs. So we're really looking forward to that. Once again, tracking referrals is going to be a lot better in iCIMS. Currently, it's a very manual process. So moving forward, if an email is sent and the applicant applied, it will now reflect this in the application. So you guys can keep track of referrals in iCIMS as well. So currently, all referrals are pretty much done through me, but soon you'll actually have access to see things in the system as well. So we're looking forward to that. Once again, social distribution and employee referrals are now linked. So if you refer someone through our website to your Twitter account, to your Facebook, it will be recorded as a referral for when that person is hired. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the system to kind of review all of the different updates that have taken place. All right, so this is our current website, and what I want to do now is jump into the iCIMS 15.1 site. And you'll notice as soon as I did that, not very much has changed with the two different sites on the dashboard. So if I click back and forth, you'll notice just about everything on the dashboard is still the same as before. So someone just asked, will it carry over if someone has a for the changeover? Yeah, so everything in the current system today is going to carry over into the brand system. So you're not going to lose any information. All your requisitions will be the same, and all of your candidates will be the same. So all of that is going to transfer over to the new system. Really, we're just getting kind of an interface update with iCIMS 15.1. So great question. So really on this dashboard, just about everything is the same. One great thing about the new system is it's actually going to be a little more mobile friendly. So if you want to use iCIMS using like a phone or a tablet, you're now going to have that accessibility. So I'm just going to scrunch up this window real quick, and you'll notice if we're in full window mode, we have that menu bar at the top. But if I scrunch it down to the size of a tablet, you'll notice the menu has condensed into the right side. So it's now more accessible if you're using a smaller, more mobile device. So that's one great thing that is coming with this system. So if you want to take a tablet into an interview, you can now do that instead of taking like a laptop with you. So we're really excited about that. One other thing, you can actually change the theme from light to dark. So if you prefer a darker image on the screen, easier to look at, you can now do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the dark theme just to differentiate between the new site and the old site. So this is the new one right here. So the next thing I want to do now is go ahead and open up a requisition to kind of show the differences between the two systems. All right, so this is a current requisition as you know it today. And then here is the brand new website. So it's going to look just a little bit different, but you'll notice the structure is still the same, and the majority of the information is still in the same place. So really not too many changes, but there are some very notable changes with the new system. The first thing is all of the icons have changed. So all of the icons are now black and white. And what you also have with those icons is a one-word description. So a lot of times in the old site, we kind of had to play a guessing game with what these icons were. So there was a lot of confusion around that. But now all of the icons now have a one-word, two-word description kind of explaining what are these icons. So that's one of the first changes you're going to notice. The next thing on the list is this Advertise tab. So previously, it was called the Broadcast tab, and now it is called the Advertise tab, which is a little more fitting to where iCIMS is going for the future. So you'll notice on this Advertise tab, just about everything on this page is still the same. So this is where you're going to post to our career sites, and this is where you're going to post the social media. And of course, these two do not work. These are only accessible by your employee services support team. But there is one new thing on this page, and that is the request employee referrals. So moving forward, you'll actually be able to request employee referrals from your current employees. So you can send an email out to your team and say, do you guys have any referrals? And then they can refer people to this job. And we can track it in iCIMS. So with iCIMS 15.1, we're going to have a lot more tools to engage employees through the employee referral program, which is fantastic. Currently, 1 in every 5 hires is an employee referral. So roughly about 22% of all new hires come from the employee referral program. And what we've seen with these hires is typically their turnover rates are lower than if they came from Indeed or Career Builder or something else. They're more likely to stay with the company long term. So we see a lot of benefits to the employee referral program, and so we're excited that there's going to be a lot more tools to engage that program. On the right side, one new thing you'll notice is this is now called the People tab. So we're really simplifying the system. Previously, it was called the Workflow tab, but now it is renamed People. So really simple terminology there. You'll notice it's no longer a colorful workflow. It is now black and white, really straightforward, and really, really simple. So one of the first things you'll notice is we actually have different filters now. So you can filter this information to kind of give you some visuals in some other ways. So you can filter it by source. So where did my candidates come from? Did they come from the employee referral program? And then if you click on them, that will then open up that listing. So we can sort it by application date. So when did they apply? So I've got 7 people applied in June, 3 people in July. So that's just a visual way of looking at things. And then you can also sort it by division. So you might not focus on someone who's 50 to 100 miles away from your campus. You'll focus more on the inner circle. So a lot of just new features to kind of visualize your workflow in a different way. And you might not use these filters, but some of you guys may end up using them if you have a need for it. One new feature we will have is what we call the application step status. So this is a new icon that will be available, and we're actually going to be able to track, where they are in their application process. So previously, we had to just contact them. Did they finish it? Did they not? iCIMS is now going to just tell us, where they are in the application process, where they stopped, where they continued, and it's going to give us the date of when they completed it. So moving forward, we can actually track their progress in the application. So we're really excited for that feature as well. One new thing you'll notice is the Take Action button is gone. So here is the old site. We had that Take Action button at the top, but you'll notice Take Action is no longer at the top. Still have that Take Action button next to the name, But now if I select someone, you'll notice the advance and reject buttons light up. So if I unselect them, they turn dark, and if I select them again, those buttons light up. So there is the advance, and then there is the reject buttons, and these are essentially your take action buttons. So if I hit advance for Crystal, who's in newly applied, what I'm going to get is, the most common steps to follow afterwards. And it is the test site, so it's not really accurate. What it would show on the real site is first interview would normally follow next. So what it's going to show is the top 3 most common steps to follow. But if it's not one of these, we'll just click on more statuses. And here I have all of those take action steps. So when you hit take action or advance, it's no longer going to bring up a window. Instead, it's all going to stay within this rather than having another pop-up window. And then, of course, you can select something and then move them to that. And then you'll get that pop-up for that email. Same for the reject. If you want to reject someone, you'll just select reject with the most common ones and then show more statuses to see the rest of the reject options. So one other thing that is missing from this screen is the icons at the top. So if we go back real quick to the previous site, we had all of these different icons. Those icons can now be found under More Actions. So if I select Crystal, I can then do an action on her. So I can email Crystal, I can share Crystal to another employee, I can send her an iForm, I can schedule her. All of these different options that used to be at the top are now in the More Actions button. And the reason they're here is because of those descriptions. So if we had a description for every single icon, it wouldn't fit there anymore. So they've moved it down to the bottom, and they've really simplified that. So that is where you can find that. One last feature about the requisition I want to show you is there's now a drag and drop feature. So you can select your candidates and then drag them to advance. And then you can kind of move them to the different steps by dragging and dropping them. So iCIMS is becoming a lot more user-friendly moving forward. So we're really excited about that as well. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and look at a person profile to kind of see what that looks like. So here, we've got our person profile, and if we jump over to the new site, you'll notice most of it is pretty much the same. So if I go back and forth, most of the changes are very minimal. Really, the only changes are at the top here. So this used to have a status. Here's the old site. And that status has moved to right here. So Crystal Sears is in first interview. And then on the right side, when we do advance or reject, that advance or reject is for that position that's listed right there. So just a few things have moved around. If we go to iForms, you have that Send iForm button. So you can send a specific iForm to this candidate. But other than that, nothing else has really changed with the profile. Now, I want to go to the full profile to show you that. So this is the full profile. I can submit Crystal to a requisition. I can share her. I can print her out, all these different actions. And if we go over here to attachments, we can actually attach documents to Crystal's profile. So if you have some interview documents that you did on paper, you can then add them as an attachment to her profile. And we also have the Referrals tab now. You probably won't use this, but we can now track referrals for this candidate. And so that's just about it for the iCIMS 15.1 website. If you have any questions, once again, type it in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer that. But now we're going to move on to the next thing, and that is the employment activation form. So as you guys know, and this is primarily for AP payroll, actually there's a question that popped up. So the question is, pre-employment forms can only be sent once on the current system. If the candidate states that they did not receive, can we resend with the 15.1? I think the answer is no. However, we can resend the email for that. In cases where you have an issue with putting someone in sent pre-employment forms, what you can do is just send me an email, and it's a step that takes me like 10 seconds. I'll disassociate them from that workflow, and then you can go in and send those pre-employment forms. Because I know sometimes, your computer freezes or a glitch happens. Just send me an email, and we can always take care of that. So Kathy just asked, who do we notify at home office to open a requisition? Great question. So let me go ahead and just type that in on the screen right here. How do I change the view? There we go. So actually, at the very end, if you need to open up a requisition, you can send that email to THS-OpenJobs. It's a distribution group. So it comes to the home office, and I distribute it to one of our team members who will then open up that requisition. So THS-OpenJobs, and we can open a requisition for you. It's a great question. You are allowed to open requisitions. So this would primarily be for, individuals who really struggle with iCIMS or, that just don't use iCIMS very much. And we will go over that once we go over iSLIMS a little later on. But iSLIMS is primarily for candidates who struggle with iCIMS. So typically it's DPO and environmental services who don't make as many hires at their campus, or since they're not using iCIMS as much. So really we're going to make it a little more accessible for them. But we'll get to iSLIMS in just a moment. So what I want to go over now is the employment activation form. So we've gone through a bunch of updates with the employment activation form over the past few weeks. We've changed some information, and what I want to do right now is just kind of clear everything up to make sure everyone's on the same page. So previously, hiring managers were filling out the employment activation form, but what we had was it kind of fell apart because a lot of hiring managers weren't using iCIMS frequently. So now what we're going to do to make sure employees get hired on time, the employment activation form will now be filled out by the AP payroll and that is live as of this Monday. So if you are a hiring manager and you're getting an email reminder to finish the employment activation form, go ahead and finish it. Moving forward, all of those emails are going to the AP payroll person. So AP payroll will be the one who fill out the employment activation form, which then transfers into ADP. So today what I want to do is I want to go ahead and outline those steps, step by step in iCIMS. This is primarily for AP payroll, but it is good knowledge for everyone to know. So we're going to go ahead and go over those steps right now concerning the employment activation form and concerning the compensation. So how are we recording compensation moving forward? So someone asked, what if AP payroll is on vacation? Is there a CC to anyone for the activation form? So if you are going to go on vacation, email VCPI, and they will redirect your emails to somebody while you're gone. A lot of people do that. So AP Payroll, if you're going to be out of town, get your emails redirected to someone else, and you can let VCPI know, and they will take care of that for you. So anytime AP Payroll is out, go ahead and have them VCPI redirect your emails. All right, so we're going to take this candidate and move them to sent pre-employment forms. So we're just going to outline the steps with the employment activation form and the compensation. So the first thing we need to do is send the pre-employment forms, and this is done by AP Payroll. And what we want to do here is under Actions, we want to check all 3 boxes. And where it says Move Job to Folder Closed, you can actually leave that as open. Just to let everyone know, moving forward, you can now hire multiple people to one requisition. So you might want to actually leave certain requisitions open. So we'll check all 3 boxes here, and it's really important to check all 3 boxes. Otherwise, their information will not transfer over to ADP correctly. So make sure you do that. Then we'll select a start date and hit OK. So some of the same steps that you're doing today. And we'll select all new hire category profiles, and then you will select your state campus new hire packet. Hit submit. And then we will add 17 tasks, or whatever that number is, and then, of course, send that email. And actually, we are in the old system right now, but it's the same steps for the new system. All right, and then we'll just hit send. So once I hit send on that, I'm directed to Gary's profile where I would enter in that compensation information. We are no longer doing that. That compensation will now be on the employment activation form. So now it says, there's a little reminder, hourly pay in dollars. These fields are now on the employment activation form. Just hit cancel. So all you have to do here is click the cancel button, because we're going to record that compensation on the employment activation form. And in just a second, we're going to show you that email and how to fill that out. But let's answer some quick questions. When directing emails while the AP Payroll is on vacation, will it direct all emails or only the employment activation form? It will direct all of the emails. So most AP Payroll, what they do is they direct their emails to usually the business office manager or sometimes a neighboring campus. So it would direct all of the emails. Now, if you don't want to do that and you only want the iCIMS email to be shared, go ahead and send me a direct email, and we can change the emails in iCIMS out. We've got a question. If the start date changes, how do we correct, and how does this affect ADP? You can actually edit the start date in ADP. I don't know the exact steps on that, but it should be in that ADP manual. So you can change the start date when it goes over to ADP. AP Payroll will be responsible for having the candidate sign the employment activation form. What you can do is you can either do it yourself, or you can hand out the printed document to the hiring manager. So that's up to you, whatever step kind of works the best. So at this time, what the AP payroll will receive is this following email. So we'd like to request for you to complete the following online I-form. So once you hit send on those onboarding documents to the candidate, you yourself will receive this email. So all you have to do is click on this link, which will then direct you to the Work with Purpose site. And once you're here, you'll just log in using your iCIMS credentials. Whoops. And then you'll log in. And once you log in, you'll be directed straight to the employment activation form. So it takes you straight to that form. And what you'll see is the candidate information will automatically fill in. So these fields will be filled in. This is just a test candidate. You'll have to type in your campus name. So whatever your campus name is, and then you'll just type in the job title. But really the most important fields are the reports to down. So the reports to, you're going to have to input the employee ID number of the hiring manager. So who is this person reporting to? That's the employee ID number that you're going to type in here. And you'll please do not type in 123000111. Really track down that employee ID number. The effective date. So you'll put in their their first day of onboarding, whatever that is. If for some reason they're already transferred to ADP and that effective date changes, you will be able to edit that in ADP. So that's the good news around that. For the starting wage, this is where that starting wage, that compensation is now located. So it's no longer on that employee tab. It's now in the employment activation form. So you'll just type that in terms of an hourly amount. So if they are exempt, that just means you have to do a little bit of math. So divide it by 40 and divide it by 52, and you'll get the hourly amount. And then some people ask, well, what if the cent is 0.453612? You'll just round it up to the nearest cent. So it might not be exactly $40,000, but it'll be fairly close to the nearest cent. And we'll enter full-time, part-time, regular, temporary, and then their hire status of new hire or rehire. If they are PR, you'll just put in part-time, temporary, and that will be a PRN. So once you're finished with all the yellow fields, that's all you have to fill in online. You can hit submit at the top of the page, or you can hit submit at the bottom of the page. The cent has been corrected. Now if you type in 0.09, odds are it's going to show up as 0.9. When that 9 transfers over to ADP, it's going to show up as 9 cents. So it won't show up as 90 cents, but since it's a numeric field, the leading 0 ends up getting deleted, but it's still going to record it as 9 cents. So great question. So we'll just hit submit, and that will complete that employment activation form. So that's the employment activation form. Only AP Payroll have access to this. So everyone else has been blocked from access. So now no one can snoop around and look at people's compensation. So everyone else has been blocked from that employment activation form. And AP Payroll can only look at candidates within their own campus. So AP Payroll, if you want to look at what other AP Payroll are getting paid, you can't see it. So we did lock down that form to make sure it is secure in the system. So if I go back to Gary's profile and I look at his onboarding status, you'll notice it now says 1 out of 16 have been completed. So that employment activation form is a part of Gary's onboarding. So once all onboarding documents are completed, and this is really important, once this reaches 16 out of 16, Gary's information automatically transfers over to ADP. So there's no specific button you click. It's an automatic trigger. So once onboarding is complete, they're moved over to ADP. So what if they do a no-call show on the first day? That's okay. It's not going to count against you. We will just term them under the status, I believe it's NCS, for no-call show, and that's not going to count against your turnover rates. So the changes to the EAF took place this Monday, so Monday on the 10th. So those updates are live in the system. So any other employment activations forms you fill out this week should have showed up just like that. It's a great question. All right, so we're going to go back into the PowerPoint now. So now AP Payroll are heading up this. Those signature fields, there's no check marks anymore. All of it's going to just be signed on paper. All right, so part 3 of this webinar is iSLIMS. So you saw in T-mail and Monday message about 1,000 documents and a bunch of different messages. So what we want to do today is just kind of make sense of all of that information. What does it mean? What's it mean for my campus? Do I have to change everything? I'm freaking out. We're going to clear all of that up today. So if you have questions about it, concerns, ideas, thoughts, definitely let me know. So the first thing I want to go over is the reasoning behind iSLIMS as a process. So as we approach the launch of ADP, we become increasingly concerned about the compliance rate. We were particularly concerned about the data that is required to flow from iCIMS to ADP to ensure new hires are in the system. And I'm just reading this right now. Our compliance rate had yet to exceed 73%. So theoretically, 27 of 100 hires would have errored out and increased the risk of a new employee not receiving pay and or benefits timely. So what we've done is we've made some changes to the process, and we'll go over what that means. Before I go over the next one, someone asked about the employment activation form. What is the point of assigning the employee ID numbers? That's for ADP. ADP will actually structure everything at a campus, and it identifies who reports to who at a campus. So that is why we assign that employee ID number. So that's an ADP requirement. So moving on with iSLIMS, over 32,000 candidates have not been reviewed nor notified of their status in our process. So 32,000 candidates have been sitting in newly applied in iSIMS. So we've had a lot of comments on, we're not getting enough candidates. We can't fill jobs fast enough. Over 32,000 individuals haven't been reviewed. In addition to that, 37.5% of hiring managers were actually inactive in iSIMS and have not logged into iSIMS in 3 months. So a lot of hiring managers do not use the system, so they're not actively seeking out candidates. So our busy hiring managers were burdened by required execution of hiring-related tasks in iSIMS. So with that being said, we have reassigned tasks and, in effect, decreased the requirements for some hiring managers to navigate iSIMS. So what we want to do now is kind of go over what iSLIMS is. The first thing I want to address is you do not have to change your entire process at your campus. That is not the point of iSLIMS, okay? I'm not saying today you have to switch everything to paper. You do not have to do that. We want to clear that up right now. iSLIMS is for individuals at campuses who don't use iSLIMS on a weekly basis and who struggle with using iSLIMS. So some people just aren't in iSLIMS enough to be able to use it efficiently. So for those people, we have to accommodate a kind of paper process to make sure they're reviewing their candidates and make sure they're moving forward with hiring and that they're able to hire someone in a quick and efficient manner. So we will be working on some more announcements on this and kind of creating a separate guide on what that looks like at a campus. But if you're doing everything electronically now, continue to do those things electronically. This is primarily for individuals who struggle with iSLIMS that we need to provide another means to review candidates. So first we want to ensure that all the candidates have been reviewed, and we will accomplish this by printing their information and providing it to hiring managers twice a week. So we're going to print resumes and hand them to the hiring manager. We recommend doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays just to make it consistent. And that will be done by either the AP payroll or the scheduler. So with this, some of the scheduler rules did change a little bit to accommodate them for iCIMS. So either AP payroll or schedulers will bulk print the resumes and give them to the appropriate hiring manager. So how do we do that in iCIMS? Let's go over those steps. So either the AP payroll or the scheduler will go into iCIMS, and they will go under new external applicants or new internal applicants. And for the department that's struggling with iCIMS, so we'll take this JustEffects test requisition. What we'll do is we'll select all of those individuals, and then we'll click Print, Bulk Print Document. So we're going to print all of these resumes out and click Bulk Print. Then we'll click on Download File. And that will give me a table of contents as well as all of the attached resumes. Now you're going to say missing document. That's because these are test candidates. So they should all have resumes. If they don't have a resume, they do have a written statement. So you'll print this off, and then you'll hand these over to the hiring manager to then review. And then the hiring manager will either cross off the name or put a check mark next to them. So what we need to do first is I want to make sure I don't print these resumes every single week. So once I print these, I want to take action and move them to reviewed resume printed. So print it off and then change their status. That way, next week, I'm not printing out the same documents that I printed this week. So you're probably not going to do this for all departments, but some departments that need help, you will help them out through this paper process. So odds are nursing departments will not switch to this because they have way too many requisitions, as well, sometimes food services as well. So not all departments are going to use this paper process. All right, so then the hiring managers will then review those resumes and indicate who they want to move forward with and who to reject. So the scheduler will then go into the system and they will reject the candidates, scheduled interviews, and also move them to reviewed resume printed. And this might vary by campuses. So if you find someone else would be better for this, let us know, and we can make those accommodations for your campus if someone else wants to do it instead. So hiring managers should notify the scheduler of their availability in advance. So it'll be something like, I'm available this Wednesday from 2 to 4 or this Friday from 2 to 5, and just kind of make that my consistent, this is what I'm available every week for a scheduled interview. So then the scheduler will proceed to schedule an interview. Then move them to first interview, things like that. So the scheduler will then take on those role of taking action and moving them in iCIMS. So upon arrival, the AP payroll will ensure that an application has been completed for this candidate. So what we'll do is when someone comes in for an interview, we will pull them up in iCIMS and look and see if their application is complete. So we got a lot of feedback from campuses saying the application is never complete and they won't complete it at home. So now what we're going to do is we're going to let them complete it at the campus. So how are we going to do that? Very soon, we are going to work on getting every single campus a recruitment laptop. And that laptop will be used only for recruitment purposes. And we're probably going to put a giant sticker on it saying recruitment or work with purpose or something like that. So we will be sending laptops. So they will fill out the application and missing information while they're here at the campus and then have their interview. So we make sure we get those forms while they're in here so that they can complete it prior to the interview. So we had a question. The payroll person can schedule for interview and rejects, correct? Yes. So either AP payroll or schedulers can advance these people, move them to first interview, and also reject them. So once again, this is only going to be for select departments. So not everyone's going to do this. But you know, some departments might need that help with the paper and moving them in iCIMS. So either scheduler or AP payroll or whoever it is will take on those duties for them. And then, of course, you're going to follow all the same procedures. If interview is successful, hiring manager will notify the scheduler to schedule the job shadow and inform AP payroll to initiate the background check. So there's going to be a lot of communication. The job shadow forms, there is actually a packet for the candidates, so they can actually fill that all out on paper, or they can fill it out on that recruitment laptop. So there's two different options there. And you know, interview evaluation forms can also be filled out on paper as well. So essentially, you'll just continue through all these different processes like before. There's just a few things that are on paper. So what about job shadow forms and interview evaluation forms? So these can actually be done on paper. So some campuses actually hate doing these forms online. So in Monday Message, there was a link for a hiring manager packet. And let me show you what that looks like. So campus hiring team packet, which was in Monday Message. We are going to work on getting this in Office Max, but right now you just have to print it off. And what this has is it's got all the candidate evaluation forms that you can use for all of the interviews. It has the job shadow assessment form. And then it also has information for employment activation form that you can give to the AP payroll. So if your AP payroll doesn't know the stuff on the employment activation form, you can give them this. So this whole packet to hire a person is available to use. So what do I do when that packet is completed? You will then upload it to that person's profile. So you'll go into that person's profile. Good question, Linda. And to upload that packet to their profile, you'll just pull them up, and you'll click on that paperclip icon. And you'll scan that document, load it to your computer, and then you can upload it to iCIMS. So you'll select that file, whatever it is, and just upload it straight into iCIMS to have an electronic copy of that. So those interview evaluation forms, I think, will be very helpful. But if you want to do everything electronic, once again, you can definitely still continue to do that. If you don't want to kill an entire forest, you can still do things electronically. So someone asked, do we scan them as a package or individually? You can do that however you want. If you want to do it individually or as a packet, either way is fine as long as you get all of those forms into iCIMS. So we want to make sure we upload those forms into iCIMS. All right, and then of course you'll move forward with sending pre-employment forms, running the background check, and of course hiring them. So all those steps are still pretty much the same. So essentially, a hiring manager can now complete his or her responsibilities to select the right talent without utilizing iCIMS. So those individuals who really struggle with it can now kind of get by without using iCIMS, typically for those who don't use iCIMS at all. And the primary iCIMS users at a campus will be the AP payroll and the scheduler. So we are creating manager workbooks that will contain all of this information and paperwork, including the evaluation forms and EAF. Each workbook will also have relevant documents needed from candidates, so job shadow forms. So we are going to work on that, and we will get that out in Office Max very soon. We're working with marketing to get those completed. So as stated in an earlier communication, this is a new process. And we're certain to continue to make modifications as we move forward. So as you implement this at your campus, please don't hesitate to contact us with your feedback on this. We really want your feedback on this. And we keep, you know me, I keep everything confidential. And we will make changes when feedback. So the last thing I want to kind of go over today is, once again, if you need help opening a job, you definitely can open a job on your own, by all means. If you know how to do it and you want to do it, please do it. But if for those people who can't really use iCIMS very well, if you need to for you. So that is a tool that is now available. So that's kind of everything I wanted to go over today. So someone asked, do we still have to move an evergreen candidate to a hiring requisition? I'm really glad you asked that question. So the answer is you don't, but there's a but. You want to make sure you know what you're hiring them to. So moving forward, all evergreen requisitions, you can hire as many people as you want to them, but you do have to be careful. So let me pull up evergreen real quick. So here is a registered nurse evergreen, and on Monday we're going to, this isn't a good example. Well, it'd be fine. On Monday we will be updating these evergreens. So these evergreens will be set up as, so you got nursing, LPN, and CNA. They will all be set up under Health Campus. So if it is an assisted living or a legacy position, then you do have to transfer them. So that's really the only thing you have to be careful of. Definitely check the ADP job title. We are going to update these for the evergreens. These ones will now only be Health Campus. So if you're hiring assisted living, you'll just have to transfer them to the appropriate requisition before you hire them. Because if you hire someone to the incorrect requisition or job type, once again, all of it's going to be automatic, and it's going to transfer from iCIMS to ADP. So if you hire them to a Health Campus rec, they will go over as a Health Campus rec. If you hire them to a assisted living rec, they will go over to ADP as assisted living. So definitely be careful with that. But yeah, moving forward, you can hire as many people to a requisition as you want to. So that's going to be a big time saver for everyone. I know AP Payroll are going to be really happy about that. That's going to save them a little bit of time. And really the whole ADP process is going to save a lot of time. So we're really excited with where things are going. And you know me, I really want to make things easier for you all. So we're excited that we came up with that. And we were able to enable that with this ADP integration. So at this time, so we got a question. Will that make the evergreen requisitions pretty busy? Yeah, it will get pretty busy, but as long as we're managing those requisitions, it should be okay. So really, people should make it into two statuses. They're either going to be rejected, have 1,000 rejected people, but they're all going to be in that one bin, and they're also going to make it to hired. So the end means for everyone is to eventually make it into hired and or that's how we'll kind of keep it clean. And then, of course, you'll still have some people that you're reviewing, but really everyone should be either rejected or hired at some point in time. The good thing about this is what we've seen in the past is a lot of people just keep applying and applying and applying to a campus. But now if we keep these requisitions open, they can't apply over and over and over again. So if they've been rejected in the past, they will now not be in our requisitions a second time, since there's only going to be that one requisition that we keep open. So it's going to clean things up in that aspect. And it is going to make it easier in the sense that you don't have to open up multiple requisitions. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and unmute the phone lines for any questions that you guys might have. So let me unmute the phone lines. All right, and go ahead and let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me answer this one real quick. Can we ask the THS open jobs to post positions like a evening shift RN? Yes, absolutely. Or you can just do the evergreen for that, and then on the employment activation form, just put them in as evening. But if you do want to do a specific evening requisition, that's fine. We can do that. We will open those for you.
What's happening with all the candidates in the current evergreens? Because like the other local campuses, they're in there as well, some of their apps.
Can you ask that question one more time?
I know everybody hanging up. It makes it hard to hear.
Yeah.
The current applicants that are in the evergreen recs.
Yes.
Come Monday, when it goes to the campus evergreen recs, what are happening to those people? And are we weeding out, like, you know, the other campuses we have in this area? We have some of their candidates in our evergreen.
Okay, yeah. So the evergreens, the current evergreens that are in the system right now, they're going to stay there. The only thing we're changing with them is we're making them health campus evergreens. So they're still going to stay there.
Oh, I
in the
see.
system.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just updating the name. And just so you guys know, one of the future things that's coming soon is we're actually going to open up a requisition for just about every position in each department where there's multiple people being hired to that job. So if it's something specific like AP Payroll or MDS Coordinator, we're not going to open that. But what we're going to do is we're going to simplify things for you guys so you don't have to open up multiple requisitions over and over. What we're going to do in iCIMS is we're going to set up standard evergreens for every single position in iCIMS. And all you have to do is, rather than creating the requisitions, all you have to do is post them. So that's I'm sure it's probably confusing as I'm saying it, but we will get messaging out about that. And it's something that's going to make your guys' life a whole lot easier with iCIMS.
Okay.
So will we have to take the evergreen campuses down like every 2 or 3 months and put new ones out there, or is it just we're going to keep one ongoing for like a year and then take it down so we can kind of clean it up?
Yeah, we're going to do one ongoing, and we're not sure the duration of that yet. It might be a year. It might be forever. But that being said, we know that things will get a little messier over time, so we will probably be doing probably like a spring cleaning every year where we clean up the requisitions and tidy them up.
Okay.
So we'll definitely be helping with those requisitions. We won't leave you guys out to dry, I promise.
It doesn't happen very often. It is a rarity, but some of our sister campuses where we're interested in the same candidate.
Yeah,
and
that
like,
does happen.
Yes, and then they get moved around.
Mhm. Yeah, there is a little tool you guys can use for that. So you can actually see if a candidate has applied to another campus by clicking on this little associated jobs button. So Carl is actually associated with 8 jobs right now. And we can actually, if we click on that, we can see what status they're in. So Carl has been rejected at Forest Springs and rejected just about everywhere else. So you can actually kind of use that button. So if they got hired somewhere else, you can use that, and then you can just go ahead and reject them in your requisition if they're hired somewhere else or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I had one question. If someone is termed and marked as non-rehirable in ADP, will they still show up in iCIMS if they reapply at a later time? The answer is yes, they will still show up in iCIMS. But one of the things we're working on with iCIMS and ADP is sending that information back into iCIMS. So whether or not they were a previous employee or a current employee, and whether or not they are rehirable. So I know at the campus level, you can't see if a candidate is rehirable or eligible for rehire if they worked at another campus. But moving forward, what we're going to work on, I don't know when it's going to be released, but we're going to have those statuses in iCIMS, and you can see it company-wide. So that is something we are working on getting in there. And it's going to be based off of their social security number. So when they type in a certain social security number, that's going to communicate it with ADP and update whether or not they're rehirable in ADP.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. So we're excited about getting that feature added. Any other questions? If you do have any questions, definitely let me know. You can send me a direct email. Give me your feedback on this, both positive and negative, because I want to know everything. Because if you don't tell me, we never change it. And we're willing to work with you all and make this the best process we can possibly make it. So if there's no more questions, thank you everyone for joining. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, John. You're terrific to work with.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.